lot of things that I want to talk to you guys about, a lot of things that I want to show you guys, and just things that I need to update you on in general. I do have some really nice, exciting things that I want to update you on, and then I do unfortunately have a little bit of bad news that we will talk about towards the end of the video. But like I said, I don't want to waste a whole lot of time, so let's just go ahead and start checking out what's going on down here. So right here we have Moira, and I have some updates to give you guys on Moira. The first one, I guess, is a little bit funny, and the first update that I have to give you on Moira is that Moira is actually a boy. So despite what I previously believed, you know, when I very first got Moira and she was, I guess, he was really hard to sex, I did think Moira was a female. I spoke to some other chameleon keepers and breeders, and most people also agreed on female, but now that Moira has, you know, grown and developed a bit, it is quite obvious that Moira has a little bit of a bulge in her tail, which means that Moira is in fact a male. So with this said, I'm sure some people are wondering, you know, if I'm going to be changing Moira's name or anything, and the answer to that is no. You know, these are reptiles, they really don't know their names or anything like that or care about them at all, so it really does not matter to Moira that his name is Moira, so I'm just gonna keep it Moira because that's what I have been calling him. So yeah, Moira is a male, but yep, that's really all I have to say. You know, like Derek, who is my female gargoyle gecko, is a female, so yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm sure you can tell by looking at Moira that he has grown so much. I'm gonna let him go back on his branch if he wants to. There we go. So Moira has also grown a ton. So with that, Moira is going to be getting an enclosure upgrade very, very soon. So let's go and talk about that. So taking a quick look around, you can probably already tell that quite a bit has changed in my reptile room, you know, mainly focusing on this area right here. So these two enclosures that you see on this rack here are new for the most part. Like, this enclosure is one that I have been working on for a while. This one is brand new, so let's talk about what's going on with these enclosures for a minute. So these enclosures that you see right here are going to be upgraded enclosures for two of my chameleons, including Moira, who we were just talking about. You know, I said that Moira is going to be getting an enclosure upgrade soon. So Moira is going to be getting moved into this enclosure right here. So if you look at it, I've already put like a custom background in it, and then I also added these branches and everything in there. Obviously this does still need to be like planted and have the substrate and everything added into it, and I'll be adding lights and everything on top. So a lot more still needs to be done, but this is, you know, kind of just the base of it. I do also want to point out that yes, there is only one door on this enclosure right now. Don't worry about that. The other door is upstairs. I just need to put it back on, but I do have the door. I just wanted to point out that yes, there is only one door right now. But anyways, this is what Moira's future enclosure is going to be. And then next to it here we have this enclosure. Again, these are the same size. So these are both the medium extra talls by Exoterra. Like I said, this one is a lot newer. This one's pretty old, and you can see you know, from the new one to the old one that they did change the design a bit. So this one now has a deeper like area where you can add substrate, or if you're doing like a paludarium or something. So I told you that this one here is for Moira, so you may be wondering who this one is for, and this one is for Finn, who is my sailfin chameleon. Right now he's in that screen enclosure that you see right here. His enclosure used to be on this shelf, but because I put these up there, I had to move his enclosure down. So, you know, he doesn't normally stay there. He's just there right now until I get him moved in here and get his lights and everything set back up. So yeah, that is what is going on with this area over here. Then if we move, you know, right over here next door, so this is where I'm going to have my like mist kings and my foggers and everything hooked up. Basically all of these enclosures here run on Mist Kings and foggers. So I have two foggers here, one that goes on my Parsons chameleon enclosure, and then so these do have like double nozzles, so it does cover two enclosures. So one of the foggers runs on my Parsons enclosure, and then the other one's going to run on these two enclosures. And then right here I have my Mist King reservoirs. Same thing, so one of these is going to be set up to run on my Parsons chameleon, and then the other one is going to be set to run up on these two enclosures right here. So I'm really looking forward to getting that done. I just picked up this table yesterday in order to, you know, have a little area for everything to go on. And then on the underneath of this right here, we currently have my 2 Malaysian cat geckos. Those are those enclosures right there. And then just some like storage and whatnot. I'm going to be taking all of these off of the shelf, and then I'm also going to be replacing these bin enclosures with some Exoterras. And then over on the end here, we have Tim, my Ackie monitor. Nothing has changed with him. He's just chilling, hanging out. Yeah, like I said, nothing changed. So that is what is going on over here on this area of the room, you know, this side. So some new chameleon cages coming soon. I can't wait to get them set up and show them to you guys. So yeah, that's what's going on over there. So this here is Finn, who is my, like I said, he is my sailfin chameleon or Trioceros montium. I feel like I really don't show him that often, and I really should show him more because wow, these guys are so cool. Finn just definitely stresses the easiest out of all of my chameleons, so like handling him is very minimal. I'm surprised he's even tolerating it as much as he is right now, but let me know if you guys would want to see more of Finn, because you know, once I get him in his new enclosure and everything, I would love to like do a video on that, and you know, like I said, just show him off a little bit more, because this is such a unique, cool species that I really do just have the honor of owning. Very, very few people have these animals, so I really should show more of him, but this is Finn. So I wanted to take a second and talk about this enclosure and just my choice to use this enclosure for my chameleon, because as I'm sure a lot of chameleon people know, glass enclosures do tend to be quite controversial when it comes to chameleon care. A lot of people believe that you can only keep chameleons in screen enclosures, such as this one that you see right here, you know, screen cages. This is definitely not true though. Glass can 100% work for chameleons as long as you know how to make it work, essentially. As long as you're still ensuring proper ventilation in your enclosure, you know, this one has a screen top and some air vents at the bottom, and I often run fans and stuff on them. So yeah, like I was saying, as long as you know how to use it properly, a glass enclosure can 100% work for chameleons. You really just need to, like I said, know what you're doing, but that goes for a screen enclosure too. The thing is, when it comes to screen and glass enclosures, there are pros and cons to both, and depending on the animal and you know where you live and just what your animal's needs are, sometimes a screen enclosure may work better and sometimes a glass enclosure may work better. I decided a glass enclosure was going to be best for Moira, so this is what we have. This is going to be Moira's enclosure. And over here on this side of the room, you know, nothing has really changed animal-wise. Everything's still the same here, but as you can see, I have currently plants all over the floor, which is kind of irrelevant, and but I have my saws. So I've told you guys before how, you know, over the next few months I'm going to be upgrading a lot of my animals' enclosures by building my own. And so because of that, about a month ago, I went out and I purchased a bunch of the wood that I need, and I just currently have it in storage in my bathroom. But yeah, so I went out and I got a bunch of the wood that I need. However, I don't really have my own power tools aside from like a drill and just a few things, but I don't really have any saws or anything. So just recently, my boyfriend and I went and got these from his parents, so we're just borrowing some tools and stuff from them, so now I can get working on my new enclosures. So hopefully now that I have this down here, you know, now that I have all of my tools and everything, I'll be able to get my enclosure set up soon. And then as far as the plants go, these, again, they're kind of irrelevant. I have them all out on the floor just because I was doing plant stuff yesterday and haven't put them back yet, so while we're down here, I guess I'll just show you some of my plants. So right here, I have this Monstera adansani. I'm probably mispronouncing all the names, but whatever. And then these are just 2 cuttings that I've taken from it and have been growing in the water for a little bit. So both of these just started as like 1 or 2 leaf cuttings, and now they're growing. Pothos over here. I have this alocasia. This is one of my favorite plants, but it's just sadly, like, I don't know, it does okay. It just never really has more than a few leaves at a time. I've had this plant since like July now, and you know, I keep having to like trim off the old leaves, but then new leaves grow in and they're fine, so like it's doing okay. But there's my alocasia, and then just like a few other things around. I have like a little pilia. This is my like attempting to propagate string of pearls that isn't doing very well. And yeah, plants. Some of you probably don't care, some of you might, but there you go, plants. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video is, you know, I did have a lot of fun and exciting things to tell you guys about, such as Moira being a boy, my new Chameleon enclosures and all that. But like I said, I do unfortunately have a little bit of bad news as well, and that is that one of my Vietnamese mossy frogs has unfortunately passed away. So 2 days ago, I came down into the basement to do, you know, my standard daily animal care. You know, I came down early in the day and then I unfortunately found one of my mossy frogs just dead on the ground. I assumed that he had just passed away at some point throughout the night. I saw him the day before and he was perfectly fine. You know, him and my other frog were both just hanging out, doing their thing, perfect frog things, and then he unfortunately passed away over the night. I do also want to just point out that my mossy frogs unfortunately did not have names. No reason for that. It has nothing to do with me, you know, not enjoying them as animals or anything. I am just terrible when it comes to naming my pets. Sometimes it takes me months and months and months to do it, and you know, a name for my mossy frogs never popped into my head yet, so they just didn't really have a name. So don't want anyone to think that's because I don't like them or anything. I'm just terrible at naming my animals. So I don't really know what happened with my frog. We will talk about that a little bit more in a second, but I did just want to say I got these frogs back in the summer, so I have only owned them for about 7 months at this point, I believe. But despite only having these frogs for about 7 months, they are most likely a lot older than that. So I got these frogs from someone who was rehoming them. So the person who had them before me owned them for about 2 years before I got them, and they were originally wild caught frogs. So with that said, I have no idea how old these are. I didn't buy these frogs wild caught, someone else did, and then I got them from her when she was rehoming them. But yeah, so unfortunately Vietnamese mossy frogs are often wild caught, and one of the unfortunate things that comes with wild caught animals is just not knowing their age. So I don't know if this frog could have passed from old age or if it could have been something else. So with that said, people are probably wondering if I got a necropsy done or anything, so let's go ahead and talk about that. So unfortunately, I will not be getting a necropsy done for this frog. However, I am going to be taking my current mossy frog, who I still have, to the vet. So the reason for this is basically just because my province right now is in lockdown where I live. You know, depending on where you are in the world, things are operating differently. Some things are open, certain things aren't, you know. The world is a weird place right now, and where I live, we are currently in lockdown. Only essential businesses are open, which, you know, do include vets, but the services that they're offering right now are kind of limited and they have limited staff and everything. So because of that, I am not really able to get a necropsy done. So what I'm going to be doing instead, because, you know, I do still want answers, my immediate concern is that frogs are very sensitive. If this is something that's maybe contagious, I don't want my other frog to get sick and pass in a few days, because like I said, frogs are very sensitive. So what I'm doing is bringing my frog to the vet, so then my current frog can be, you know, checked out and evaluated, and if there's anything that I need to treat for, then I can, and, you know, we'll go from there. But yeah, that is unfortunately what is going on right now. I did very unfortunately lose one of my mossy frogs, which is very upsetting. So unfortunately, that is the update that I have to give on my mossy frogs, which, you know, is not the update that I want to be giving, but unfortunately it is just what happens sometimes. So yeah. Alright, so I think I have now gone and told you everything I wanted to tell you, and I've showed you everything I wanted to show you and all of that fun stuff. So I am just going to go ahead and end the video here. I do hope that you guys enjoyed it. You know, I know this video did bring both good news and bad news, so it might be a little bit weird to say, but regardless, you know, I do hope that you enjoyed watching the video, enjoyed getting some updates on my animals and just what's going on down here and whatnot. So yeah. So with all that said, let's just go ahead and end the video. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel if you haven't already, and also be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It would mean a ton to me if you did. Also be sure to check out all of my social media. All of it will be down in the description below. I would love to have you guys over there, so please be sure to go and check that out. All of that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video now, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.